Good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Morning Coffee. I need y'all to lock in. We're going to start with the Diddy trials today because a lot has been happening with the Diddy trials. Oh, something that's important to mention that I didn't mention in my recent update about the Diddy trials is that one of the jurors, there's an issue with one of the jurors. So I don't know what the issue is. So according to people who have been in the courtroom, one of the jurors, the prosecution team is asking that one of the jurors be dismissed. It's not been made clear why they want one of the jurors to be dismissed, but they're asking for one of the jurors to be dismissed. Now, the defense team is saying that they do not want one of the jurors to be dismissed. So that juror number 6, I believe it is, they're saying they don't want the juror to be dismissed. Now, it's not clear what the issue is with juror number 6, but there's some sort of conflicting issue. And from what people are rumoring, there's an issue with how they're showing up during the debrief when they're debriefing at the end, the jury debrief at the end of the day, where they're talking about what happened in the case. So prosecution wants juror number 6 gone, but the defense team is saying that juror number 6 needs to stay. So there's that. Now, also, other things that are important. Yung Miami has finally entered the chat. So we've been asking, like, why nobody talking about Yung Miami? Where's Yung Miami in this situation? She's finally entered the chat. And before we get too excited, she's not entering the chat as a witness. She's not taking a stand. But she has entered the chat because of what Jane Doe said. Now, the other thing that's really important is that there's a recent audio that's been released of Diddy calling Jane Doe his crack pipe. And I'll speak to you all about my theory on why he never went public with Jane Doe. In addition to all of that, I think that, and please hear me out before y'all jump down my throat. I don't want no beef. I know y'all like smoke. I think that the defense team is doing a really good job at cross-examining Jane Doe because they've poked holes in her story to make it seem like she was less of a victim and more of a participant. Now, though we know that that's not true and we understand how trauma works and abuse works, they've done a good job at depicting her as someone who was a willing participant based on text messages, video messages, and voice notes that they've shared. So let's get into it. So here's what the defense team has been doing so far since they've been able to cross-examine Jane Doe. They've been talking a lot about the fact that she has been sending text messages telling Diddy how much she loved freak-offs. They're showing messages of her saying how much she loved Diddy. They've been showing messages of her saying that she was organizing a freak-off. So in February of 2022, during Valentine's Day, Jane Doe testified to the fact that he saw Diddy with, there's a woman that keeps coming up, her name is Gina, that apparently Diddy was dating and he was public with. And he went on this trip with Gina and it was all over the internet. And Jane Doe testified to the fact that she was jealous. And because she was jealous, she decided to set up a freak off to get Diddy to come back to her and to join her instead of being with Gina. And it worked. So they had text messages of Jane Doe saying that she wanted to do a freak off and she was setting up a freak off. Diddy left Gina because this is how much he loves the freak offs, which is crazy to me. He left Gina and decided to go meet up with Jane Doe for said freak off. And they had a freak off, but Jane Doe organized it and they showed proof of her saying that she was going to organize it. Now, there's many other things that happened within the time frame. There's text messages of her saying that there was one guy that she really liked. His name was Noah or something. I can't remember his name, but she essentially bought matching shorts sets for her and Diddy and the escort for one of the freak offs. She also referred to the three of them as Jordan, Shaq, and Kobe. Diddy, I think, was Jordan. I think the male escort was Shaq, I believe, and she was Kobe. I can't remember which of the last two, but she essentially referred to them as the Super Three. So she also spoke a lot about, she also sent a lot of text messages back and forth with the guy where she would check on him. And they said that they were actually like, you know, they had a relationship, friendship outside of it. Now, she testified to the fact that she just felt like he was the nicest person or the warmest person to do it with. And so since she was feeling forced to do it, that she chose him because she felt the most comfortable with him. So she's essentially saying she didn't want to do it, but if she had to do it, she needed to pick someone who she felt comfortable with, and that male escort was the one that she felt most comfortable with. So she would often try to get him to join them. And she would continue to tell Diddy that she felt most comfortable with him. Now, the defense team is essentially saying that she wanted to participate. Like, this was a relationship that they wanted to have, these freak-offs, and she was okay with it. Now, as we know, the prosecution team has showed many instances where she said that she didn't want to participate or didn't want to continue. And in some ways, it looked like Diddy was coercing her. But on the other end, when you have someone who is organizing freak-offs, this really comes down to what the jury is able to understand. And I'm wondering if they're going to bring the forensic psychologist back on the stand to talk about cycles of abuse and how people will do certain things because of abuse, to kind of like paint a picture for why Jane Doe was doing this. But right now, I think if we looked at this objectively without putting on our like trauma lenses or like being human, it does kind of sound like she was a willing participant. Now, to move forward, they also have said that they've also, in trying to cross-examine Jane Doe, asked her about being a jealous girlfriend. Now, what I will say is she's admitted to being jealous. She's admitted to being jealous because she, in a lot of ways, saw Diddy being public with a lot of people. One of those people was Yung Miami. She was dating him while this whole Yung Miami public saga was going on. And she felt like she was being put or hidden in the background while he was dating Yung Miami and while he was also dating one of his exes who is named Gina, who we heard Cassie talk about. Now, the issue with all of this is that they're trying to say like, were you really not willing to do the freak offs, or were you saying this because you wanted to get his attention because you felt jealous that he was with other women? And she did testify to the fact that Diddy said that he was poly and that he didn't want to be in a full-on relationship. Now, they also showed messages of her saying how much she loved him and that he's responsible for making her child happy, and a lot of things. Now, my theory on why they're going public, so I'm not going to disclose who people believe is Jane Doe's identity because I feel like that's unfair to her, and she was promised anonymity, and I think that's just important to honor. But my theory on why he never went public with her is not necessarily because of her specifically, but it sounds like she has other ties to and connections to other people in the industry. And I think because of that, I won't say who or what or when and where, but I think because of that, it probably wasn't a good idea. And he probably knew that them going public wasn't going to be the best thing. So I'm not excusing what he did, but I do think that was a lot of the cause around why he didn't go public with her. But she testified to the fact that really made her feel uncomfortable and she felt like she was being used. Now, she continued to testify that she didn't want to do freak offs, but she wanted to keep him happy. And there was messages of her saying that she didn't want him to get violent. So that still exists, and there's still that layer of things that, is still coming up. Now, she's still on the stand with the defense team today for cross-examination. So we'll see what else they bring up. And I'm also interested to see what other witnesses they bring to the trial, because that's going to be essential in terms of, because the defense team hasn't brought in their people up yet. And I'm interested to see who they're going to bring up on Diddy's side to essentially present his case. So that's that on Jane Doe. Now, I told you all in the beginning that a new audio has been released of Diddy basically referring to Jane Doe as his crack pipe. And in a positive way, which, yes, I think is crazy. But
Jane Doe
here's the audio. Here's the audio TMZ released.
Yeah, okay, let's play it now.
Hey, baby, we had a great time. Stay in the light. It's all good. Get your rest. You are pipe. That's my new name for you, pipe. Or should I call you CP? But, yeah, I want you to stay in the light. You know what I'm saying? We had a very, very good time together. Like, so much fun. So much fun. Now go rest up. Get in your bag. You know what I'm saying? Got your contract. Find a nice little spot, put your mind at ease, and I had a great time. And I really, really want you to get some rest. I didn't know about you throwing up and all that. That's when I was like, hold up a second. All right, get some rest, baby. Love. So if you come in for 24 hours, yeah, you always wanted to set some up. So now you got the opportunity. So set some up for tomorrow night.
So there you have it.
So, I think that it sounded predatory to me, the text messages, and the fact that he kept saying, or the voice note, and the fact that he kept saying, get your rest, get your mind right. That doesn't sound like someone who was participating in something they enjoyed. It sounded like she was involved in something that would cause her to be stressed or uncomfortable, in my personal opinion. And then when he says that he didn't know she was throwing up and he would have done something differently, I can't imagine that you wouldn't be aware that someone was throwing up if they were having a freak off with you. But it sounds very much like dismissive of what she wanted and needed. And it sounds more like you need to continue to do this, in my opinion. That is what it sounded like. So that's the audio from Diddy. Now they're going to continue to cross-examine Jane Doe today. So we'll see what else comes up. But right now they're trying to paint a picture that she was a willing participant. And I think they have some good evidence, but we'll find out more. Now, the other thing is that we heard from R. Kelly recently. So R. Kelly has also entered the chat and tried to ask to be pardoned or released from jail. And I will read to you the details on why R. Kelly is asking to be released from jail, which to me is crazy. And if you didn't know, R. Kelly is serving a 30-year sentence in North Carolina for sex crimes that he was found guilty of a few years back. But let's read his rationale, which to me, I'm not going to lie, sounds crazy, but let's read why R. Kelly believes that he should be released from jail. Now, this has been covered on a bunch of news sites, but TMZ got the exclusive, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to read it from TMZ. So R. Kelly says his life is in imminent danger behind prison walls, and his legal team has filed an emergency motion seeking his immediate release. According to court docs obtained by TMZ, the Pied Piper's attorney claimed that they have evidence that outlines a murder-for-hire plot involving prison officials and another inmate to have him whacked inside of the North Carolina penitentiary where he's serving 30-year sentence for sex crimes. Kelly's legal team submitted a sworn statement from a terminally ill inmate and an Aryan Brotherhood gang leader. So I believe that's Nazis. His name is Michael Glenn Stein, who explicitly claimed authorities offered him freedom to spend his last days on the outside in exchange for murdering the singer. The alleged plot was supposed to play out with Stein killing Kelly and getting charged for the deed, only for the prison officials to fumble the evidence and ultimately bury the case. Stein claims that an official said he would get transferred after the deed and he'd be allowed to escape and stay free. Stein seemed like he was ready to carry out the murder, approaching R. Kelly's housing area in March, only to turn back at the last minute and blow the whistle to the Bureau of Prison Officials. That the Bureau of Prison Officials had ordered the hit. Stein approached Kelly personally in prison to inform him, accounting that to inform him, according to the court docs. Steins indicated he'll take a polygraph test and will offer to testify. Kelly's counsel says the flip was a costly one. Now another member of the Aryan Brotherhood has been introduced to kill both Kelly and Stein, and the prison is crawling with more affiliates waiting in the wings. So basically, he's saying that this was a hit for hire. Some other context that I heard from another news outlet was that people are saying that they want him unalive because the witnesses who testified against him, they have evidence that they're not credible sources and that he was going to be released from jail, which seems to be the new theme. But I just think it's interesting that someone who is a part of a hate group would let you know that someone who's a part of a hate group who has a terminal illness is waiting to be deceased would go up to you, let you know that he was going to get his freedom and all he had to do was take you out. And also that he was given this advice or given this by the prison guards. The other thing is that escaping from jail, that you're going to be given your freedom, we're going to transfer you and and get you to escape from jail. The last thing I'll say is they could have just transferred R. Kelly out of the jail. If the case is that he's being attacked by someone in the jail and they have evidence, why wouldn't you just transfer him to another facility? And why are y'all asking Trump for a pardon and all this other stuff instead of going to a court of law? Just transfer Robert. That's it. That's all. That's the end.